Hi, I'm Hillary with Wise Hearts Connect, and today we are going through the different meridian systems regarding acupuncture meridian pathways. And today we are looking at the lung meridian, the 9th meridian in my system of 5-element acupuncture. And the lung is very much about the emotion of breathing in and letting go. The metal element, generally the large intestine and the lung work together, and the emotion associated with the lung and the large intestine is grief. A lot of it is about inspiration, being inspired, and it has to do with this very kind of like fine quality. They say that the lung sits closest to the heart. As we know, the lungs kind of nestle the heart, and so the lungs are sort of what they call the first minister of the heart. And I have this image of a advisor, like a wise, inspiring advisor that can be informative and support the heart. The heart and the lungs also have these unique rhythms. So with the heart, it's the ba-bump, ba-bump, ba-bump. And with the lung, it's this breathing in and breathing out, this rhythm. There's a rhythmic nature to these two organ systems. So the lung and inspiration is sort of this curious, fine, detail-orientedness, this refinement, this sense of beauty actually is very much associated with the lung. My face reading teacher, Lillian Bridges, was very wise and very metallic herself. She always talked about herself as probably her most prominent element for her being a lung/metal element kind of person. And in her case, I remember that she talked a lot about grief and about how we transform the emotions. And she said that the process of going through a grief actually leads to gratitude. And when she died a couple of years ago, I definitely felt like that was kind of one of the lessons that she gifted even in her death. In that what I realized is that if she had lived forever in a physical body, I maybe wouldn't have appreciated her as much. But in her passing, it really gave pause and this extraordinary awareness of grief and gratitude. So gratitude for the prospect that our paths crossed and that I got to be her student. And with it was this extraordinary beauty, actually, in the exchange, in the realization, in the connection that I felt like I had with her. And I also remember shortly after she passed, actually, this moment I was sitting in my kitchen and maybe washing some dishes, and I had this sense of her presence, and it had only been maybe a week or two, and it occurred to me, I was like, wow, she's back to work really quickly, checking in on her students. And frankly, that's part of the inspiration for making these videos, is to honor her legacy and to offer homage to her for this gift that she gave. I feel like she gave me, but ultimately her life gave the world, that her life's work imparted upon all of her students across the world, but including me. And I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, but it was that this notion that had she lived forever, she wouldn't be as appreciated. And in her passing, it was just this very stark realization of how much gratitude I had for the experience of being her student and learning from her and ingesting the wisdom, breathing in this wisdom that she gifted, and this inspiration for sharing what she taught me with the world. And that's very much an energetic explanation of the lung meridian and the lung organ and what its use is in the body and in our emotional lives. And of course, the lung is here in our chest. Our lungs are in our chest. And as a meridian, the meridian system runs through the arm and in through the chest. And actually, the first points of the meridian are here on the chest, and they extend to the fingers. So that's the lung meridian pathway. And a way to stimulate it is actually to do tapping on the points, which is just where the crook of the breastbone comes in and it meets up with the shoulder. And there's a little divot here, and these two acupuncture points sometimes can be tight. These are really worthwhile massaging or tapping to stimulate. That's a great way to nourish the lung. And then, frankly, the best way to nourish the lung is to be conscious of our breathing, to practice breathing exercises. In fact, I found James Nestor's book, Breathe, to be one of the most extraordinary books on health and breath. It was a nonfiction book that I didn't want it to end because it was so interesting. And it was all about how our breathing is also very much connected with prayer. And if we can consciously breathe, chanting as well, right? It's this rhythmic chanting, breathing, and that very much also in Chinese medicine terms and Taoist wisdom terms is related to the belief system, the understanding of that organ system and the lung itself. One other interesting aspect of the lung is this beautiful point on the wrist. And the point is just above the, there's a little divot that you can kind of fall into as you massage the thumb side of the wrist. And this particular point is a beautiful point, actually having a relationship with the neck of the body. And that particular point is called Very Great Abyss, or that's the translation anyhow. And what I think about when that point is this very great abyss, perhaps like the Grand Canyon, this deep place that's kind of mysterious and also potentially like very clean. And in fact, grief is sort of the prospect of having this emptiness, right? It's this person, say, that you respect or love, filled a place in your life. And then when that person is plucked away, it leaves this great abyss, this extraordinary emptiness that will have to be filled with something. And ideally, we would take a little bit of time to contemplate what it is that we want to fill it with. And so that point is a very telltale point on the lung meridian to do with breathing in, letting go, and emptiness, and the beauty of it all. How is your lung health? Concerning issues regarding the lung could be bronchial issues, any kind of lung condition, asthma. Those are very telltale indications that the lungs need help. Even a cough, sometimes that actually can be helpful to clear out the lungs. But the more conscious breathing, the more breathing that we can be aware of, that's going to be very nurturing and nourishing to our lungs.